What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with a brand new review, you guys, for Rated to Love. This is season 8, episode number 6, you guys. This episode is titled Dates and Doubts, you guys. So, before we jump into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor, you guys, and stop checking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to my channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video. And with that out of the way, you guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this episode of Rated to Love, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode, we are in the ladies' lounge, and the ladies are meeting Tommy. So, this week is going to be the ladies' chance to send, one of these men home, right? So Tommy asked the ladies, have any of these men been putting in the work? So, they were like, some are, some up need to step up to the plate. And I was like, really? Because from what I'm seeing on the show, it looks like the ladies are putting in all the work with these men. But, maybe we're missing some stuff behind the scenes. And if that's the case, then hey, it is what it is, right? But I was like, I don't see not a one of these men putting in the work. But if that's what y'all want to say, I'm going to let y'all have it, right? So Tommy tells the ladies, all right, ladies, well, this week, I want for y'all ladies to get with these men and, express your doubts to these men. And I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, why are we expressing doubts like they're not in a relationship? I would, I would express like, nah, I just wouldn't do this. Because how can you have a doubt when you don't really know these people like that, right? But you can tell them things that you see that it's like, it might be something that can potentially be an issue should we go forward, but a doubt, okay. So the first day we have is Aries and Phil, right? So here's one of my issues when it comes to Rated to Love. So Aries and Phil, they are talking about the fact that they have a connection with each other, but it's mostly through phone and they don't really see each other. And I know that in previous seasons, I know some of the cast has told me that the production company, the producers do set up the individual dates, right? I know that the producers set up those dates for them, but then here's the question that I have: are y'all not to see each other until y'all start filming the episodes, the scenes and whatnot? Because when y'all come into these scenes and y'all talking about how, we've been having a connection with each other off the phone, it just comes off very weird to us because we didn't see it, and it's just like, oh, okay, here it is now, and I just don't understand it, right? So she tells her that, one of her doubts, and this is a good doubt, right? I was here with this doubt because she has kids, right? So she wants to make sure that whoever she dates is able to date her and know that she has 2 sons. She comes with 2 sons, right? And they should be, she wants someone that can openly accept that and, if she chooses to go down the route of marriage, be there to support her with her sons, right? And, Phil says, hey, he wants more kids, but if they don't come from him and he gets get these 2 young men as his sons, he's fine with it. He'll just have 3, right? So I guess he already has a child, right? So she then also asks him, does her 2 divorces scare her? Now, this is JB talking, right? And I'm not speaking for Phil, but Phil said no, her divorces didn't scare him. And I would also say the same thing. Your divorces don't really, it's not the divorces that scare me. What I would then ask the question of, what happened in both of your marriages? Like, what happened with your marriages that you're divorced twice? Again, there's nothing wrong with being divorced twice if you realize that, either there was no love in the marriage or, or you grew apart. That's fine. I would just like to know what was the reason for the 2 divorces. But, they good because he's divorced and, he has a child, right? So they are 100% good. And that's really it for their date. They did end their date with a kiss. And I was like, oh, okay. I like it. So the next date we see is Sierra. So Sierra's on her very first date with Chris 2.0, right? So Chris 2.0 sat down and asked her, how has the process been for her? And she's like, she's just trying to get deeper to make sure that she's not missing anything. And I was like, cool. Now, can we be honest when it comes to Sierra, you guys? I don't think that Sierra has a connection on this show, right? We've saw, like I said last week, we saw Sierra go on numerous dates with these people, but when they get to the gentleman's lounge, especially in last week's episode, nobody mentioned her name. Not one of these guys said Sierra's name, and I was like, that was a little very interesting, right? Because even with the date that they had, where they went to the improv class, who was she? Whoever her partner was, made no mentions of Sierra, right? So she then asked him, does he have any insecurities? And he says he doesn't, right? And she was like, she's never heard anybody say that they don't have any insecurities. I was like, I mean, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people out there that will say they have no insecurities, right? If you feel confident about yourself, then what is there to be insecure about, right? Just saying. So then at one point during this date, she mentions to him that she likes Birkins and Chanel's. And I was like, very interesting. And it threw me off because I'm like, this is your first date with this man. So I don't know why we're mentioning Birkins and Chanel's. Like, I was just a little thrown off by that. Just a little bit. And so was Chris. Chris was really thrown off by it, right? Because, now see, here's the question that I pose. Was she asking, like, if we are in a relationship, is that something that you could do for me? Would you do it for me? And he said, like, what if it's a point where, where it's just a bad time and I probably can't financially afford that, right? Would you leave me or would you look at me differently? And so then she says in her interview that, she calls it an insecurity. I'm like, that's really not an insecurity. That's just, if the man ain't financially stable enough to spend $50,000 on a purse, that's not insecurities. I mean, okay, I guess that's what she likes. But she did say that, if he can't get it, she can get it herself, right? I was like, okay, cool. I don't have a problem with that, but I still thought that was a little interesting, just to mention a Birkin bag on a first date with this man. Like, this is literally your first conversation. Not your first conversation, but it's your second conversation with him, but it's your first date with him, and we're talking about Birkins and Chanel's. Now, granted, I know with a Birkin bag, those appreciate in value. This is Chanel. I don't think Chanel appreciates. I know for sure a Birkin does, but I was like, okay, I mean, I guess it is what it is. He didn't like it, and that ain't a match. Let's pause here, move forward. All right, you guys, so next up we see Jessica. So Jessica pulled up on Chris 1.0 because she feels like he isn't very consistent with the communication between them, right? So she told him that gives her a moment of pause. And it's kind of what she said later in the scene with him. You make time for what you want. Like, you only make time for those things that that are important to you. And here's the other thing. Like I said a few minutes earlier in the review, when Tommy asked the women, were the men putting in the work? No, the men are not putting in the work because the women are actively pursuing the men. So if these women are actively pursuing these men, they're gonna say, well, I gotta do anything. She's just gonna text me tomorrow, she's gonna call me tomorrow, and I'm gonna respond to her or not. So I think that's a little bit of issue for the ladies. Like, you ladies are letting these men get away with it. Stop pursuing them. Stop chasing after them, so to speak, right? Let them come after you. Let them come for you. Make them do all the work. Well, not all the work, but if they're interested in you, if they like you, they'll reach out to you. Kind of like what happened last week with Janelle when she was talking about Herbert, right? If they like you, they're going to pursue you themselves, right? So he also tells her that he finds he finds a strong woman very attractive, right? But with her, he wants her to be less assertive in her tone. He wants her to be less assertive and a little less assertive and a little softer with her tone. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess if that's what you want, right? But he does admit that he could do better with being consistent with the communication with her. So I guess that he and her are going to work on that, right? So next up, we got Katarina. So Katarina is on a date with Marvin, right? So Katarina says she's heard some things that have, made her question anything with Marvin, and she wonders if Marvin can operate within a monogamous relationship. So here's the thing, you guys, because somebody had this conversation with me on Twitter last night about Marvin, and the fact that all of Marvin's fetishes, they don't believe that any one woman can satisfy him, and that he needs a harem of women. That is, number one, very judgmental as hell. Number two, that is you're being judgmental of that man. You are making an assumption of that man, right? You're making assumptions, and you're making assumptions, and it's generalizations, right? Just because people have a fetish doesn't mean, just because people have different, fetishes doesn't mean that they can't be with one person, right? You do realize people can have a fetish for. I mean, you guys see it all. You guys can see it on the internet, right? You guys see men, little men who have a fetish to be with a big girl and for her to sit on them, right? Literally sit on them, just squish them, and that's fine. That's a fetish, right? Some people have, a foot fetish. Doesn't mean that they can't be with more than one person. Some people have a underwear fetish, right? Doesn't mean they can't be with just one person. Like, there are multiple fetishes out there. Some people have fetishes of watching people eat. Some people like to watch people eat. Like, you guys realize that there are multiple fetishes out there that you guys might not be interested in, right? But it does not mean just because a person has a fetish, that doesn't mean that that person cannot be monogamous with more than one person. Like, I want you guys to stop thinking if it just because it's something that you don't do and it's something that you're not into, that, oh, just because, I won't do. And here's the thing. I actually have to say, although I felt the way about Marvin after last week's episode, I have a lot of respect for Marvin because at least Marvin is being open and honest. Now, what I will say about Marvin is I do think that Marvin is catering his responses to the women. I absolutely do believe that. But I just feel like it's a little bit of judgment, you guys. I got to be real with you. It is judgment. It's judgment. It is generalizations, and it is an assumption. You guys are assuming. You guys are literally assuming y'all know what the fetishes are. That I know he said, some, the force. Oh, and all. Again, that was with one person. Now there is something that's going to come up later in the episode when we get to the ladies' lounge, and we'll talk about it, you guys. And I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain that one to you as well, because I just recently stumbled upon that on Twitter, and it is very interesting. And honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like it, but hey, that's neither here nor there. So he says yes, that he can operate within being in a monogamous relationship. Then he was telling her about how he was designing a White Ranger costume. I was like, wait a minute now. I love Power Rangers. I still to this day watch Power Rangers. I'm currently watching Power Rangers on TV on mute, right? Like, I was like, no. But come to find out, when I rewatched the episode last night, because I watched it once, and then I went back and rewatched it, and I heard him say for Comic-Con, I was like, oh, thank God, right? Who? Because I was like, wait a minute, we finna SCX up the Power Rangers? Like, no. But I had to re-listen to it, right? So, like I said, she asked him, can he be with more than one woman? And he said he absolutely can, you guys. So I think we're going to pause here, you guys, and we're going to go ahead and move forward, shall we? All right, you guys. So next up, we got 2 dates, right? So we got Kira. So Kira has invited Herbert over to her home. And what I will say to Ready to Love is, I'm going to kind of need y'all to stop showing it outside of these people's townhomes, apartments, and homes, right? Because I'm pretty positive I know where that townhouse is that Kira stays at. I am almost positive I know it because I recognize the door, and I recognize, although they did blur out her apartment number, I think a condo number, right? They blurred out the number, but I know that design. I recognize that design because I've been to that complex before. I've been there before. So I would just say you might not want to show the outside. You might not want to show the outside of these people's homes because, again, like I said, I know where it is, but I think the good thing for her is if I know where it is. I'm just trying because I've been there more than once. But she's in a gated community, so she's fine. But yeah, Ready to Love. Y'all should stop that. She's in a gated community. Um, so Herbert, she's telling Herbert to step up his game because he's very nonchalant. I was like, ma'am, did you ever just stop to think that maybe he's just, not that into you? If you have to tell a person to step up their game, they're not interested in you. Like, it's just plain and simple, right? So then they were talking about his connections and how, he once again says the same thing that he said to Janelle in last week's episode about the fact that he doesn't date multiple women. Well, sir, you are on the wrong show. That is what this is. That is what this show is about. You date multiple people to see who you really are interested in more than the others, right? So he says he has 3 connections, and she said, well, am I one of them? He said, you up there in the top. I was like, Allah, I don't care who tell it. You are nowhere near that man's top. So where are we at? So that was a lot straight from the pits of hell, right? So she asked him to do a dance with her. It's not a TikTok, and I could have done without that scene, right? So the next thing we see is Quentin and Janelle, right? I did not recognize who Quentin was when he walked into that date with Janelle. And I need to find out where that restaurant is. I know what area that restaurant is in. It's in It's in Lower Greenville, which is not far from downtown Dallas. It's not far from downtown Dallas, but I wonder what part of Lower Greenville. Cause I mean that area. I love the Lower Greenville. I love Greenville area, but parts of it, like, cause my aunt don't live far from one of my aunts doesn't live far from Greenville Avenue, and the side that she lives on is a little on the sketchy side, right? Because you see niggas standing outside all day, every day, and it's just like, do y'all niggas work? No shades. If you guys know Dallas, you guys know what I'm talking about. Over there off of Melody Lane, that ain't far from. Oh Jesus, because Greenville is just right back down the road. What was I talking about? Oh, that restaurant. I gotta find out where it is because that it looks so nice. But yeah. So they're on a date, and what I will say is, aesthetically they look nice together, right? So she asked him, does he think about the age difference between them, and he says he doesn't, right? So she's talking about the fact that, for her, with her being, I think she's 41 years old. Now let's talk about Janelle real quick before we even get any deeper. For her to be 41 years old, you act like you're 21. The things you say and do come off like a 21-year-old, and we'll delve into it once we get to it. So, she's talking about the fact about getting married, having kids. They got to be in love like today. But they did also talk about adoption. And, here's the thing that I will say. If Janelle and Chris are really, have this strong connection to each other, why didn't he know that she was adopted? That's the big question that I got. Why didn't he know that this woman was adopted? Just asking the question. Literally asking the question. He asked her, was her parents black or white? She said her parents were black. And that's what I got from that date. Didn't really care too much for it. I mean, it was cute for what it was. But I was really more so, like I said, thrown off about the fact that he didn't know she was adopted. But hey, that's neither here nor there. We're gonna pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So next up, we see Kira. So Kira is meeting up with Marié because Kira is offended about the fact that Marié questioned her blackness. I was like, but ma'am, you said yourself in the first ladies lounge, that you are the closest thing to white. You said to us last week that you have black cousins. Girl, I would hope you do. If all your family members are white and you're not adopted, you got a problem. Your mom and your daddy need to go back to the hospital and find out where their missing kid is, because the hospital clearly switched you at birth if that's the case, right? Unless, again, like I said, unless you were adopted, unless you were adopted by white people, I would certainly hope that you have black cousins. Because if not, again, like I said, if you weren't adopted and your parents are white, then you got a lot of questions that you need to ask your mama and your daddy. Why the hell have y'all white asses went back to the goddamn hospital to find out where your real child is, right? And by the way, I'm being facetious because I know her parents are black, but I mean, for her to make that comment that I have black cousins, girl, we know that. You're black. You're black. Like, you might think you're a white girl, but you're not a white girl, ma'am. So, but here's the thing. How are you so offended by him questioning your blackness when you literally sat there in front of Quentin and asked Quentin if he liked white women? I think you were hoping that he would say he does like white women because since you put on that Valley Girl accent, that he would automatically like you, or the fact that, or it could be this as well. You ask him if he likes white women because all of your friends are white and you don't want to date him and bring him around your white friends and they steal your man. But hey, maybe I'm just thinking a little bit too deep into this, right? Talk about she has her brothers are black and her father is black. Once again, ma'am, we know that. We can see that. We can look at you and tell that you got black brothers and a black daddy. We know that. We're not shocked. Shocker, you guys. Kira's family's black. Girl, shut up. Moving on from that, because I really don't care too much for Kira. So we see Lee and Marvin, right? So they are meeting up with each other. Now, Lee, I like you, girl, but you're kind of like wallpaper on the show. You're very forgettable, my love. I literally don't be remembering you sometimes on the show until I see you and I be like, oh, look at my girl Lee. I like her, right? But yeah, I don't. Ooh. So on top of the fact that I feel like Lee skates through this, Lee is skating, and I don't see any connection. So let's put that out on the forefront before we even go any further. None of these people have connections. Not one person has connections. I just don't see it. I see no connections. Can we wrap up this season, please? Please and thank you. Please, please, please. So back to Lee and Marvin. So she asked him about his, how's his temperament, right? He said he's just even chill, right? And I'm pretty much the same way too. I have a pretty just chill temperament. It takes a lot to, rattle my cage and ruffle my feathers. So yeah. So then he's telling her how, he likes to do impersonations. She said, so what's your favorite movie? He said, Jurassic Park. And she's like, huh? So do you impersonate the dinosaurs? He said, no, the people. I was like, now Lee. Hey, let's go now. Rawr. Like that. I think he's talking about the people that are running from the dinosaurs. But hey. Okay. I didn't get much from this date, you guys. I just got to be real. I didn't get much from the date. It was boring. Yeah, that's all. I got nothing from that date. Not a damn thing. Let me know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below, you guys. And we're going to pause here and wrap up. So, you guys, we get to the ladies' lounge. And, this week, the ladies just told Tommy about their dates. So, I know Janelle told Tommy about her date with Quentin. Who else? Aries told Tommy about her date with Phil. Kira decides she wants to bring up her date with Margay and how she just felt offended, but then she wants to pretend like she doesn't remember his name. I'm like, girl, cut the bullshit, right? Now Janelle, you guys, here's where we got to talk about Janelle real quick, right? I can give Janelle some kudos, but I can also take a point or two back, right? With Janelle, I'm cool with the fact that she let Kira know just how she felt about the situation, right? Again, I'm cool with it because Kira is really trying it. The fact that you want to sit here and say that he questions your blackness, but you did that to Quentin. You questioned if Quentin liked white women, right? Then in the ladies' lounge, you said you're the closest thing to whiteness. I don't know what kind of badge of honor that was. Like, I still just don't understand why she even said that and where that even came from in a room full of nothing but black women. Why the hell would you say that? That was so stupid. It was just the dumbest thing to say. And I'm not calling her dumb. I'm just saying it was a dumb thing to say that I'm the closest thing to white. No, you're not. You're nowhere near close to white. If this was the age of slavery, your black ass would have been out in the fields picking cotton. You're not close to white, girl. You are not white passing. The only thing white passing about you, and this is not even white passing, is the way that you talk. The only reason why that can be considered quote unquote white is because you throw on that Valley girl accent. Other than that, ain't nothing about you white. You just throw on that accent. Well, actually, there is one thing about you that is white. Them white boots. Those are the only things that are white. The only thing that's close to white with you are those white cowboy boots you got. And that's it, girlfriend. Now, Janelle. Here's my thing with Janelle, right? Janelle seems like she is always on go, ready to fight, and I just don't understand why. You can tell Kira, like, girl, I don't like you, I don't rock with you, and I don't fuck with you. And that's just it on that. But god dang, man, you just get a little bit too rah-rah for me. And I'm like, girl, you are 41 years old. If you fight this girl, your bones and your ass and everything on you is gonna hurt the next morning. You have to sit in a bath full of Epsom salt. So Janelle, calm the hell down. Now, you know, you guys, I told you guys before that I like Jessica, right? I'm kind of seeing some things that I don't like with Jessica, because I'm seeing some things with Jessica that I just don't like, and that's really all I got, right? So they named who the guys are in their bottoms, right? That they're not feeling. So the guys that they came up was Marvin, Marie, and Chris 2.0, right? So we see the ladies as they went out on the eliminates, right? So we see Marie is out with Lee. Marvin is out with, I believe Marvin was out with Katarina, and Chris 2.0 was out with Kira, right? So ultimately the ladies decided also forgot to mention, Tommy told the ladies that this is a double elimination. So 2 guys are going home this week, right? So the ladies ultimately sent home Chris 2.0 and Marvin, right? Also, with Marvin, so people mentioned, so in the ladies' lounge, I love the fact, it was so funny to me when, what's her name? Jessica impersonated Marvin. I thought that shit was hilarious as fuck, right? So she did mention in the ladies' lounge that Marvin told her that he is a stag, right? So you guys, earlier in the review, I told you guys that I had just stumbled upon this. So I have 2 Twitter accounts, you guys, and the second one is just literally nothing but, you know, adult rated stuff, right? And I stumbled upon, you know, some stag adult rated videos, and it's literally what she said it is, right? It's a man who is, the ones that I saw, most of the men are married, right? And, you know, I just thought about it. I guess a stag they've taken for us, because I've noticed it's really only black people, right? I've noticed that it's only black couples. So a stag, but wouldn't that be the same thing as, and wouldn't that be the same thing as a CU hold? Like, so back to it. A stag. A stag is just a man who enjoys watching his woman with other partners, right? But from what I've saw, it's typically another man, and he just watches. Literally, he watches that. But yeah, you guys. So ultimately, like I said, Chris 2.0 went home, and so did Marvin. Chris 2.0 was in his feelings, baby, because he was talking about this one girl was talking about a Birkin, but she Ubered on her dates. I was like, ooh, that was a shot to Sierra. What else, you guys? That was really it. Do I have anything else to add to it? Nah. Do I have anything else to add? No. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video, and until the next time, you guys, stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.